So who will win? 3 Tireless Tribe versus 1 14-14. Terrible. The Mad Dogs are back. This is a list that I took through another league run on Magic Online. I made a few changes since the last videos. Namely, I went down to just 3 Arrogant Wurms. I was looking at the most recent version of this deck that went 5-0 on Magic Online, and they were playing just 3 Arrogant Wurms. I always kind of considered 4 Worms to be mandatory, but when I look back on the deck, on the performance of the deck, I think even when you're running a full playset of all the discard creatures, you still get these situations where you can't cast the Arrogant Wurms, and they're just sitting in your hand, where you're not making plays in some of the pivotal turns of the game, and it can really mess you up. So because I went down on the Madness package a little bit here, I also went down another copy of Patrol Hound. I went with 3 Call of the Herd. By doing this, I put in a little more of the support non-creature spells, once again with the double Rancor and Curse Scroll on the main, one on the side, double Naturalizes, and one Sylvan Library, just to help smooth draws sometimes. I've been playing around a lot with the numbers on these cards, but this, even though this looks a little scattered, I actually think this is a pretty good split, because neither Curse Scroll or Library are good in multiples, and they're not necessarily cards that you want all the time. You're okay not seeing them, but they are welcome. They're usually welcome when you do see them as a one-off. It's also just a way to diversify your threats a little bit. I think there's something to be said about playing 0 artifacts and enchantments in the main, so that your opponent's naturalizers don't have targets. But there's also something to be said for just playing a few. This way your opponent might over sideboard against these cards, when in reality we only play, just a couple. Other than that, I'm still on the Wasteland and Port strategy. I decided to split up the absolute laws for one cloak and 1 law. There's just so much Sly at the moment on Magic Online, and even though Sly is one of our best matchups, I think it's a good time to be running a cloak. It is a little worse against goblins, but it's still good against goblins, so I think this is a fine split. Still on the Ray of Revelation game plan, and another big change that I made is adding 2 Tsabo's Web. Since we're not playing factories, we can make better use of this card, and it's just an excellent way to swing the tempo of the game in our favor against some of the more difficult matchups like Terrageddon, like Oathponcer, and Landstill. Having a way like this to disrupt those stakes has been really good. I'm feeling really good about this list, and I've been taking it through several leagues now, and not feeling the need to change anything. So for round 1, game 1, we're on the play with a fine hand, Mongrel, Rootwalla, Arrogant Wurm, and Swords. So it's definitely a keep. We just open on the Rootwalla, seeing a mountain, so expecting Slayer goblins. We draw a Call of the Herd and get out a Mongrel. Now we see an island. Not the most common pairing in Premodern. Opponent gets out another island and still haven't made a play. We just flash out the Arrogant Wurm and they play a miscalc. We get out a Call of Hurt. Opponent continues to just play basics, so we're not really finding targets with our Wasteland, but that's okay. We draw Glory. An opponent casts a Rewind, targeting the Elephant token, but we just discard Glory in response, and they scoop it up. For game 2, I take out 1 Lion, 3 Swords, 2 Naturalize, for 3 Ray of Revelation, 1 Absolute Law, and 2 Prismatic Strands. I'm expecting this to be like a blue-red Rifter kind of deck. Basically control with cycling, so just want the protection from red. I think Lion is a little worse because they're going to have a lot of ways to deal 1 damage to multiples, so this is the split I went with. And I keep a hand with Wasteland, Ray of Revelation, Mongrel, Curse Scroll, Glory. So we have a diverse range of threats and disruption. Here they play a Shivan Reef and I just Wastelanded. They just have a mountain as a follow-up. Now I've drawn double Tribe, so can still make a play even though we don't see our second land. They just try to bolt it, and yeah, we just discard the Tribe to keep the Tribe on the board alive. Now we draw a Lion. Opponent is cycling. They find another Shivan Reef. We continue to not hit our land drops, but we're getting in. I'm basically holding on to the Curse Scroll to be able to flash back a Ray of Revelation in case we didn't draw another land, but we do find our port here and tap down an island. They cycle a miscalc in response. Now we hit our third land. Opponent casts Rewind on Savannah Lions. I'm happy to put my Lion back in hand for a 3-mana spell. And we get out an Arrogant Wurm. Take our opponent down to 4. And I'm not feeling like I have to make a play here. I can just hold up Glory. And yeah, they try to wipe the board with Slice and Dice, and we just have Glory to protect. And that seals the game. And we take it 2-0. I do think we're overall... I don't think this is such a lopsided matchup as it might have looked here. But we do have an advantage against the red-based control deck, since we have a lot of ways to give protection, as opposed to something like a Wrath of God, where we can't use Glory to protect. For round 2, once again on the play, we see a hand that only has Wastelands, so that's an easy mulligan. We mulligan into a hand with Tribe, Curse Scroll, Arrogant Wurm, and we're against AAUE, who's an absolute killer. He usually plays Goblins. Lately he's also been playing a lot of Sly, but he's really good with either deck. This hand feels good against either matchup, and it's a hand I would totally keep in the blind. And he shows a Goblin Vandal, so that is looking like the more recent iteration of Sly that has been popular on Magic Online. He gets down a pop and a Seal of Fire, and we get our library down. Opponent is staying back, and we just get down a Worm. Now we can get down a Curse Scroll and get in for 4. Opponent hasn't didn't block and hasn't been trying to take down the Worm. Instead, they're pointing a burn at our face. Here I activate Curse Scroll to take out the Vandal. Basically, don't want it to take out the scroll. Opponent did point some burn at Tireless Tribe, and I decided to let it go. Basically, at this point, they're quite low on resources, and I didn't wanna discard my Mongrel here. I think it's more valuable than the tribe, since we're not in a situation where we have a lot of discard fodder. Opponent plays another Vandal. We just keep getting busy with the Arrogant Wurm. Here I feel fine just taking down the Jackal Pup. It's also dealing damage to them. They bolt our Mongrel, and which I think is fine. They do take out the Curse Scroll, but they're not dealing with our Worm. And we find another Mongrel. And just keep getting in the red zone. Opponent's down to 5, with only 2 cards in hand. And we keep finding Mongrels. Here they incinerate the Mongrel and Fire Blast the Worm, so they're really heavily committing to answer our board. Of course, we play out another Mongrel, and they decided to scoop it up. I think the library was just MVP here, just letting us keep finding threats and keep applying pressure. Now for game 2, I take out 1 Lion, 1 Naturalize, 1 Rancor. I think Rancor can be a little bit of a liability against Sly, because it's not buffing the toughness. And I take in 1 Armadillo Cloak and 2 Prismatic Strands. We see an excellent hand with Swords, Mongrel, Naturalize, and Worm. Opponent opens on Mog Fanatic, and they get out of Factory. Here we draw a Patrol Hound, and I decide to play that out rather than expose the Mongrel to removal. They're getting busy with the Factory and the Fanatic. We draw Curse Scroll. Here I decide to stay back. I'm hoping to hit the pup with the swords and take out Factory with the Naturalize, but they're not swinging with the Factory, so it's not quite ideal for us here, but I do think it's correct to take out the pup in this instance. Opponent doesn't make another play, and they're down to just 3 cards in hand. Here I do end up playing out the Mongrel, and we're holding up 2 mana to Naturalize. They take out our Mongrel, but they're also getting in with the factory, letting us convert the Naturalize. And luckily we hit our 5th land drop, so we can just hardcast a Wurm. If this Wurm lives and gets equipped with the Cloak, it's going to be pretty much over. But opponent has a Sulfuric Vortex, which negates any life gain. I still put on the Cloak, so we can get in for 6. And start to race back. Now we get out a Curse Scroll. Opponent has been hitting a lot of lands, and they're down to just 1 card in hand. And now 1 more attack with the Wurm is going to be lethal. Yeah, we can just activate the scroll and get our tribe out. At this point, even if they were somehow able to deal with our board, they're going to die to their own Sulfuric Vortex. So we take it down 2-0. For round 3, once again, we're on the play. We see a little bit of a slower hand with Call of the Herd, Wurm, Glory, Rancor. And I decide to mulligan, because I really want to make the play on turn 1 or 2 at least, and mulligan once again. So we're down to 5. We can get down a Rootwalla and basically hope to hit a discard outlet. We just keep drawing Rootwallas, and we're seeing wild growth, so most likely facing Enchantress. And indeed we do see a Ghostly Enchantress. So not much we can do here but get in with the Rootwalla and play another one. Opponent has a Swords, but they are down to just 3 cards in hand. Now they get down another Enchantress, Wild Growth, and then Seer Sanctum. And from here I just scoop it up. I mean, I think we're just too far behind. It's going to be such an uphill battle. We can't really disrupt them in any meaningful way. So I think there's almost no chance to win from here. For game 2 against Enchantress, I take out 4 Swords, 1 Glory, 1 Call of the Herd, 1 Curse Scroll, and I take in 3 Rage Revelation, 2 Tormod Crypt, and 2 Orim's Chant. And we keep a hand that's a little risky. We just have 1 Plains, but we are able to open up with Tribe into Rootwalla, and we have a couple of Lions as well with the Ray of Revelation. So we are hoping to hit lands here, but I do think we need a little bit of luck to beat this, to beat Enchantress in general. Now we don't hit another land, unfortunately, so we can't take out the Murascoil, but we just get down a Lion and get in. Now we do hit our second land and take out the Murascoil. Opponent has Kirta's Desire on the Rootwalla. We do hit our third land, so we're looking to just deploy the Arrogant Wurm. They play out a Karmic Justice, and I decide to just ignore it and Stay aggressive, get down the worm. Take our opponent down to 3. And just play out all the cards that we have. Opponent just plays out a prisons but doesn't find what they need. So we take down game 2. For game 3 against Enchantress, we do see a hand that's very heavy on disruption. We only have 1 threat, however, but hoping that it's enough to get us there. And luckily we do hit a lion. But they have a sword. We kind of only have Patrol Hound as a play to make here. And they have another Kirta's Desire this time. Our draws have been pretty awkward in this case. I just decided to try to restrict their mana. And here I think it's a little bit aggressive to use both halves of Ray of Revelation. But I feel like I just have to start dealing some damage. And we still have a couple of Naturalizes. Opponent has another presence. And we find an Arrogant Wurm. I decide to just take out the presence. Might be a little... I think that you could argue that it's a bad play since we don't really have much pressure going on. And they have a sword to take out the Hound, and now we just have no board presence. I think a better play would have been to just go for the Arrogant Wurm. We find a library and just play out the Mongrel. Opponent has another sword. I hit him with Orim's Chant, but it's kind of it's a weak move in this spot. Once again, we don't have any board presence, and yeah, we do find another Mongrel, but it's getting increasingly late, and we just haven't been able to apply much pressure. Opponent just keeps finding more draw pieces, and at this point, our chance to win is extremely low. I do get a Rancor down and just discard heavily to the Mongrel, taking opponent down to 6. Hoping that somehow they don't find one of their closing pieces. But now they get down Sterling Grove, so they can just tutor up whatever they need, and I scoop it up. For round 4, we continue our lucky streak of being on the play. However, I keep a pretty questionable hand here. Just 1 land, and it's a non-basic. I really wouldn't advise anyone to keep a hand like this. But I do go for it. I mean, we do have a lot of action with the 1 land, but we are very vulnerable to Wasteland or not hitting our land drops. But we just continue to play out the 1 drops. An opponent is basically showing that they are on Terragadon, and I've actually played against this opponent quite a bit lately, but for some reason I wasn't recalling the name when I kept that hand. Certainly against, if you know you're playing against Terragon, I mean a hand like this gets even worse, and we're still not finding second land, so yeah, it's looking really bad. Opponent even is able to keep porting our lands, so it's like we have no lands. And yeah, after they get down a library and turn 5, I still haven't found another land, so I scoop it up. For game 2 against Tireless, I take out Savannah Lions, Patrol Hound, Arrogant Wurm, and Curse Scroll, and I bought in 1 Ray of Revelation, 2 Prismatic Strands, and 1 Reprisal to deal with Terrible. I'm not really sure why I didn't board in the Tsabo's Whip. These are partially meant for this very matchup, so yeah, I'm not sure why I decided not to board them in here, but this is what I went with for this particular game. We keep a fine hand with double Mongrel, Rancor, and Prismatic Strands. Opponent has a Mongrel of their own, so it's looking quite a bit like Martin Bolin's Tireless list. They have another Mongrel. Here I get Rancor on my I put Rancor on my Mongrel and play out a Tireless Tribe. I can discard and flashback Prismatic Strands. So I'm really hoping that they double block, then I can change the color and really mess them up. They also only have 2 cards in hand, and I still haven't played a land, so these are all factors that might determine whether our opponent decides to block or not. They do take the bait and double block. I discard once to Mongrel and flashback Prismatic Strands. I just negate all damage from green creatures. This way they have to discard to deal damage. And that's exactly what they do. They discard. But there's 2 cards in hand, and here I just discard a Windswept Heath and just take the trade here, taking out both the Mongrels. Then I'm able to play a Wasteland, just take out that Treetop Village, and I get back the Rancor. So they really have nothing left. They do play out a Curse Totem, which is certainly bad for us, but I find a library, so this is looking like a really good position. They get out a Mongoose, which is thresholded. I just attack anyway, even though I can't discard. I keep getting in and play out a lion. They get a Tsabo out, and I sorted. Here I was kind of thinking that I would be able to get Glory online, but of course that's not possible since I can't discard because of the Curse Totem. with that in mind, I just attack with the lion. Opponent is 21 because of the swords hitting the terrible, and they play a Call of the Herd. So this is really time for Prismatic Strands to do some heavy lifting, as it already did. Yeah, I do end up casting it here to take out the elephant and keep the tribe alive. I wasteland them to keep them from flashing back Call of the Herd. They get down another mongoose. And they naturalize the library. I get down a Rootwalla. And because of Rancor, it's a pretty decent situation here. Now I can hardcast the Glory, and they don't really have good attacks. They play out a third mongoose, and I am able to flashback Strands, taking out one of them, and not losing my creatures. And I'm able to take game 2. Now for game 3 against Terragedon. This time I decide to board a little more aggressively. I take out another lion, another Patrol Hound, 2 more Arrogant Wurms, and get in 1 Tormod Crypt to deal with the Threshold and Terrors. I also take in the Tsabo's webs. Now we're on the draw and looking to be a little more disruptive as opposed to aggressive. We keep a hand here with double Tsabo's web, Tireless Tribe and Rootwalla. Opponent gets down a Wasteland Furnace, and luckily here we draw a Windswept Heath, so we can play around the Wasteland. Opponent taps out to get down a cursed totem, so I discard the Rootwalla in response. Now I'm able to get down Tsabo's web and punish the fact that they tapped their Wasteland. So we're both bringing in some hateful artifacts here. And we draw Prismatic Strands, MVP of the last game, and we even hit the second one. This is really one of the best cards in this matchup, I think. I take out their gemstone mine, get down a second Tsabo's web just to make sure it sticks around. Also drawing a card in the process. I just hold up Prismatic Strands here. I don't want them to hit me with Pyroclasm. They play out a Wild Mongrel. I go to put Rancor on the Rootwalla, but they have a swords in response. So I just get out another tribe. Drawing a swords here, and I do decide to take a very aggressive line here. Like, I think it's probably not the best move, since the highest priority card is certainly Terravor, and it's not like I'm putting on that much pressure, so I think this wasn't the most optimal play. but it's what I went for. Opponent cycles their furnace, and lo and behold, they have a Terror. It's not the most scary Terror at the moment, though, only a 4/4. Now they hit with Armageddon. So I cast Prismatic Strands in response. Terror now 14/14. But it's not dealing damage this turn. And with double Strands, I can negate a lot of combat steps if I'm able to hit my land drops, which so far is what's happening. So, who will win? 3 Tireless Tribe versus 1 14/14 Terrible. I do find the third land, but I have to hold back a tribe to flashback one of the Strands. Now we can attack with all of them to just hardcast the Strands. Opponents down to 4. It solves the tribe. So I can only attack with 1 now. But I do draw Call of the Herd. So we basically have lethal and they can't attack with the Terror. Now with flashing back the Call of the Herd, we just have lethal here. And we take the series 2-1. Now for round 5, we continue the lucky streak of being on the play. I think that is all 5 games were on the play, if I'm not mistaken. But we already mulliganed once, and the second hand we see no lands, so we have to mulligan down to 5. And we keep a hand that's just a Rootwalla and Library, and a Prayer. We see a basic island. Scariest card in Magic the Gathering. We have no fear and play the Library, which of course gets staged. Just hitting lanes, but the Rootwalla is getting in there. Seems like opponent isn't finding that Dreadnought. I mean, it's certainly looking like a Dreadnought deck that we're up against. Here we do find a Call of the Herd. And it resolves. They find a Dreadnought here, but they're using Vision Charm, so we can attack freely. And we draw Naturalize. But I don't really have to try to hit the Dreadnought. Instead I just flashback the Elephant. This way we have lethal, and yeah, opponent scoops it up. They were too late to drop the Dreadnought. Now for game 2 against Dreadnought, I take out 2 Glory, because they don't have a lot of interaction, and 1 Curse Scroll. It's a little too slow here. I just take in 2 orange chant and a reprisal. And we keep a fine hand with double tribe, mongrel, worm, and a sword. Opponent doesn't hit their second land. And we just were able to get down a mongrel. They do hit a dreadnought though. I go to swords. They gush in response, and then they have foil. Yeah, it took the damage. I think you could argue for blocking, but do that here instead. And try to resolve an Arrogant Wurm, which happens. Discarding 3 cards, we are able to fully block the Dreadnought, but they have another Dreadnought. They do use Vision Charm, however, so it is phased out. But with double Dreadnought, I'm not able to raise that, so they take into. For game 3 against Dreadnought, I keep a hand that is all lands and with 2 lands to Dreadnought and an Arrogant Wurm, so it doesn't apply a lot of pressure, but I'm hoping to draw some of that and keep off Dreadnoughts in the meantime. I just fetch to play around a Stifle. We draw a Lions. I think you could argue for not playing the Lion here, because if they have a turn 2 Dreadnought, Orange Chant can get dazed, and this is why I decide not to cast either of these cards. I think it would have been better to just wait with the Lion. I mean, it's not making the biggest difference if it comes down turn 2 or turn 3, so yeah, I think it would have just been better, because I could have simply cast Chant in response to the Dreadnought. Now instead I'm kind of forced to use it to insulate against a counterspell on the sword. Opponent does daze the Chant. They kind of have to, and they don't have another free counterspell, so we do take out the Dreadnought. But opponent is down up to 32 as a result. Luckily we find a Tireless Tribe, so we can get the Arrogant Wurm online. And we draw another tribe. I decide to just play out the worm here, with less chance of it being countered. And it does resolve. And now we're able to apply a good deal of pressure. Opponent isn't really doing anything. Just sitting on 2 lanes, we draw swords, so certainly a good position. And Naturalize, so even if they do find a Dreadnought, we have 2 answers. and we're applying so much pressure that it's going to be too late anyway. And yeah, we take game 3. So in the end, we went 4-1. It's a solid result, I think. We only lost to Enchantress, which is that's always going to be a difficult matchup. We took down Terrageddon, which is always tricky, and I think the blue-red Rifter, if we played that matchup a lot, I think they would be favored, but I haven't played against that deck too much. So overall, a good league run, I think. Thanks for watching.